Welcome to Three Witches and a Druid podcast, a Canadian podcast about paganism in today's modern society.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Three Witches and a Druid, where we are four witches and a druid tonight, talking about our lives living as modern pagans. I'm Margot.
And I'm Maeve.
Gwen.
And I'm Brian. We have a guest.
Off the street.
Yeah, off the street. Introduce yourself.
My name's Mike.
Is that it?
You want the full name?
Yes.
Insurance number.
Tell us about you.
Tell us about you. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Who are you and why are you here?
Well, I came in for rocks.
He did. He actually did. There's now a box of rocks here.
No, I kind of took a chance stopping in just to kind of say hi. Like I said, Gwen's been trying to connect. So a little bit about me. Active practicing witch since I was 16 back in 1996. My path has evolved. I traveled many different traditions, different religions from across the globe, and kind of settled on traditional witchcraft. So that's where I'm at now.
There we go. And so Mike came up with a really great topic. Do you want to describe a little bit what you suggested?
So I recently came across an article and then kind of watched some supplementary videos on a term called plastic witchcraft because it really intrigued me. I'd heard it before in terms of plastic shamanism and kind of some of the fakery and whatnot that was going on around spiritual leaders in the First Nations communities, but never heard it applied to witchcraft before. So I wanted to know a bit more about that.
What is plastic witchcraft?
As far as I understand it, plastic witchcraft is purchasing the aesthetic of witchcraft. The long black nails, the clothing, the accoutrement, but not really doing anything with it. Kind of, it's all the show, the bravado. But also it does incorporate an interesting twist, which is literal plastic. Are we incorporating plastic into our practice? Something that is somewhat, in my opinion, a little antithetical to being a practicing witch, pagan, what have you, kind of earth-based person.
Yeah, I know you work at a store. It's something that's always bothered me was resin statues. I hate resin statues.
There's a couple of companies that are Canadian even, based that a lot of our pagan and alternative like gothy stores have, aren't they? And they're just this resin statues.
One of the companies it was some kind of cast stone, which was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think what happened is they became too successful, could not manage
to keep up with the orders,
and had to go plastic. And the difference in the workmanship really did show.
So just before we get into this topic, this is in no way a slight against anyone who can't afford certain tools or...
You know, I have no idea what most of my statues are made of. I know one for sure is wood, and that's it. If I like it, I like it on.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. We have a whole episode on dollar store paganism. This is not a judgmental thing.
Yeah.
But you are right. There are individuals out there, especially in the blogosphere, social media, that buy into the aesthetic, but that's it. There's nothing else to that person. There's no practice. There's no understanding. And yeah, it's frustrating sometimes.
I think what it boils down to is the commercialization of witchcraft paganism.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't affect me, but it affects those who come behind me. That makes sense?
Yes. To let people interested in the path or beginning their exploration in the path not feel like they need to own all of the stuff right away. You don't need all this. It's just stuff.
Yeah.
Which was something that I would tell people frequently, again, at Little Mysteries. I think I've mentioned this before. People coming in and wanting to buy the pentacle and the chalice and the athame and the crystal ball and all this stuff. And
$500 later.
I am more than happy to sell you all of that. It's my job to take your money.
Yeah.
But you don't need it.
No.
Or all at once. Take your time.
Yes.
And I think we were talking about in future shows, we will be talking about more tools and substitutions for those tools if you don't have them. So stay tuned in shows to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I respect about the shop that you work in, Mike, is I don't know who does the purchasing, but I know that there are repurposed items that are found, used items found, maybe reworked or rejigged or just washed and cleaned, and then a child's communion, first communion or something cup is now sold as a chalice or
You got it.
or crystal.
Recycle as much as
Use
possible.
recycle and find things that are beautiful and then repurpose them and then resell them. So somebody may say maybe they don't get to all the yard sales or they don't have a family heirloom that they can take and repurpose into their practice. I really appreciate that that recycling part is part of that. Somebody's got a really good eye and can see it and see potential for items that maybe somebody else thinks is garbage.
The other thing, too, is that depending on condition, of course, we also take used items.
Right.
And, I'm not exactly sure what the percentage is. I don't do the buying, unfortunately, but we do offer compensation either in-store credit or monetary for your used goods. And that way it kind of recycles it, hands it on. We had a family that their family member passed away, had 60 years of witchcraft memorabilia and tarot cards and books, CDs. And they said, we didn't know what to do with it. And so they contacted us and said, would you take care of these things? And we came across a part of this person's hair that was done into a charm, and that sits in our shop altar.
Yeah.
Right. So we really do like to take care of the community and make sure that we're paying it forward.
I remember our very first trying to build a pagan assembly meeting was held at the shop. It's even before Brian. Then Brian got a hold of me like during COVID and stuff and said, let's do this again. But right before COVID, we were at the shop and, the shop was always good. And that's one thing about shops. Your local metaphysical shop is usually very supportive of community
and building community.
Well, they tend to be a community.
Yeah.
Community hub, yeah.
Yeah. And help people connect with other people in the community.
Yeah.
There are a group of what I would call youngins, young to me anyway, that regularly come into the shop, and we lovingly call them our ducklings.
But that's great because they're there getting advice that's not from TikTok.
Yes.
Now, not to say that there aren't some great things out there, but I mean, what is hexing the moon? Nobody has explained that to me. But I mean, some of this silly thing, or we're doing it for show or whatever, but they're getting good advice from experienced people who are not gonna, make them think of something too crazy.
For me, it's about substance, like making sure that your practice has some sort of substance. Whether you have the accoutrement or not doesn't matter. The only tool a witch or a practitioner needs is themselves. At the end of the day, you take everything away from you. Are you still a witch? Are you still a pagan?
Yeah.
That kind of is the question for me. For me, I still am. No matter what I own or what I don't own, it's inside me. It is me, a part of me. And so the only tool I need is that.
So plastic, like, you mean like plastic tools? I'm still not quite getting it. Oh, no, I get, plastic as in the plastics like in Mean Girls, like just all, no substance. So that, I thought for a moment there you were talking about.
Well, I think we're talking about both.
We're
But it is
talking about
It is both. It is literal, like, are you going to the dollar store and picking up that little plastic cauldron, and you have like a gazillion and one kind of mass-produced, no thought, no effort, no energy is put into it. Like, is your altar cluttered with that? Or are you going out into nature and picking up a stick that is 100% free, and putting that on your altar and having that moment of connection with whatever, right? Are you finding a feather? Is it a pebble off the beach, even though we're not recommending that because that's totally illegal?
yeah.
Are you having kind
Are you saying you're not allowed to take rocks off the beach? Because I'm
No,
looking
you're
at
not.
a whole box of rocks right there.
And then we got them off a mount.
we got them off eBay? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Is it kind of coming from a place of authentic experience?
Well,
right?
to play devil's advocate here, what if you can't afford a real cauldron and you do go to the dollar store at Halloween and get a little plastic one, and you're using that as a representation to put your thoughts into, like writing things on little pieces of paper?
But then it's
use it?
authentic because it's actually being used.
Okay.
It's not an aesthetic.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not Instagram worthy, right?
Okay, like you're using it
You're using
genuinely.
what you have.
Yeah, okay.
And for me, coming from a perspective of a trad craft witch, it is about utilizing your surroundings, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What do you have? Do you have thyme in the cupboard? You don't need to go get the expensive dragon's blood. You can just grab a jar of thyme, rosemary, whatever you
Yes,
have.
okay. I get it now.
Right?
Get it now.
It's about just kind of being very present and authentic with your practice.
I get it. Okay, I understand.
That's the bigger part.
You're using it. The bigger part is, if anybody out there's seen that movie Mean Girls, they have the three most popular prettiest girls.
Yeah.
The plastics.
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying now.
And now I'm going to play devil's advocate. I am 100% on board with you, Mike, but I'm also thinking that there are times in our lives where we try on personas before we invest in them. And those very long nails, and this is not gender-based. This could be either gender. These long black nails and the dark eye makeup and the this and the that. And you're trying on that aesthetic and you're dipping your toe into it and you're seeing what the reactions are and how you feel in that skin. And then maybe, I show my age, maybe next you're preppy. Maybe next you're something else.
Just a phase.
It's just a phase.
Sometimes it is just a phase.
And so I don't want, if somebody's just trying it out, if somebody's just dipping their toes in the water and embodying the aesthetic to see how it feels, that's legit. That's legit in the sense, but then I think my issue is then don't pretend to a practice. A lot of these things we're getting these things from social media, these people that are portraying themselves, and is there a practice behind the aesthetic, behind the beautiful altar? Because anybody who has a working altar knows they're very rarely Instagram worthy. If they're a working altar, they're a freak mess, right?
All over it.
Wait
yeah.
a minute. What does that say about mine?
No, and it.
I think the point, though, is that while you embrace the aesthetic and you try it on, it involves also educating yourself and gaining the actual experience.
Yes.
You can't just put on the clothes and the nails and
And
be
then
like,
and say,
here I am.
"Here I am.
No, there's
I'm
more to it
a
than that.
this."
And that, I don't know if it's a problem because, like, it's not my problem. I don't work that way, so I don't care.
Yeah.
But this is definitely something that happens. I have a lot of friends who claim to be witches. And it's like, you don't know anything. You've never been... Like, how many rituals have you done? It's not wear a band shirt, name the top 3 songs.
Yeah.
But you should know something, anything, or participate in any way. Yeah, have you read a book?
Have you done
Or a tarot card or something.
Have you done any research at all?
Right.
Do you
Have you reached out to a community?
Yeah, but that can be hard. I can understand
Yeah.
how difficult that.
There's online communities,
Yes,
which is
that's
a
true.
safer
Yes,
option
yeah.
for people because
But
that's
yeah,
It's a difficult conversation because while the concept of plastic witchcraft is kind of gross and disgusting, we also have to accept that not everyone is in the same position as everyone else.
yes.
Like I said before, we're not pointing at people who are wearing the Megadeth shirt and saying name their top 3 band.
Yeah.
Well, to counter my own point, I've thought about it a little bit myself over the last few days. And what about self-expression? Maybe an individual has the aesthetic because they want to express what's inside.
Yes.
That they've tried it on, they like it, they know that this is who they are, and now they're ready to present
Step
to the world
into it. Yeah.
who they are as a person. And this is a way to kind of signal to other people that, hey, this is what I'm about, right? It's kind of the same as somebody wearing a gender identity pin,
Yeah.
right? To kind of just signify this is who I am as a person.
Or yeah.
So we very early on in the podcast, we had a thing about gatekeeping. And I think while there are legitimate questions and, that plastic witchcraft, is a legitimate sort of designation or whatever, we don't want to drift into gatekeeping where we're like, you're authentic and you're not because you have to be so far along on your path or whatever, or we only accept certain things. And that can be tricky. That can be tricky once you start, isn't it?
I think the difference, though, is that all of us combined, have met so many individuals who are new to the path. And you can tell the difference between the individual who wants to learn and the individual who just wants to put on the hat and call themselves a witch.
Or freak their parents out.
Exactly,
Or
yes.
their friends or something. Oh, yeah.
At last
their
year's
spouse or
festival,
their
how
child.
many people did we meet that were new to this?
Yeah.
And are still around because we knew that they were going to stick around. We
Yeah.
knew that they wanted to learn.
They did, yes.
Our previous guest, Lo, was a prime example of that. That was her first festival, her first real experience with the community, and here she is stuck on a podcast.
Yeah.
well, she just realized how fabulous.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if anybody interested, we did record 2 shows at the festival there.
We did,
We
yeah.
did. So going back and listening to those, it's a very interesting thing. People like, I didn't know this and I feel this for the first time and all of these things are happening.
We had so many people cry on air.
Crying on air. I'm like, oh, look at that.
And while you have a sec, explain plastic shamanism, because I know what it is, but our listeners may not.
Plastic shamanism, as I know it, is kind of the falsehood. It's pretending to be a great healer, a great spiritual person, when you have no training, no understanding whatsoever. You've not been gifted the ceremonies that are required to hold that position. People don't realize the responsibility that goes along with these positions within a community. It is one of servitude and like severe service. If somebody calls for a sweat lodge, you're going to do a sweat whether you are going at 4 a.m. or whatever.
Whether you think you're having a family dinner, whether you think you've got to go visit your parents, you're doing a sweat. Because that's your job. Organizational charts and businesses are very often, a lot of things in white patriarchal society are like pyramid shaped with somebody on the top. And so you can put the shaman on the top, but you invert that pyramid and he's at the bottom holding everything up and everything rests on that. He, she, the shaman is at the bottom holding everything up. It's a no thank you job. It's a no thank you job.
What I would say is, to the people that are, I hate to use the term real and not real because that can be another gatekeepy, slippery slope.
Yeah.
But to people who are doing the work, you will notice that their own personal health tends to suffer.
Yeah.
Because they are taking on the ills of their community, whether that's mental, emotional, or physical. Sometimes, no matter how much personal care you do or self-care and you try to look after yourself, it takes its toll. I've watched a really good friend of mine and Mi'kmaq elder. She's aging incredibly fast because of the work that she's doing. She's out there doing it.
Yeah.
So
Several of us in this room right now, when you say taking it on, there was some of us who for 10, 15 years planned everything, did everything, and you burn out, and it's finally like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
Because it wears you straight out. The other thing too is, you have to try to, and I have a bit of an ego in the past.
In the past.
And but no, when I say ego, I don't mean that you do what I say or anything kind of ego, but there comes a time when it's okay to pass the torch. They may do it a little different than you, but it'll still be okay. You know what I mean? If you've been doing it for a long time and you're paranoid nobody else will get it done right, let it go. Because it is a big jump.
Because, you can get attached to the outcome. And
That's always a big issue in the pagan community, though, where pagan community suffers from either burnout or individuals who won't step aside.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating.
Eventually.
On that note, if anyone ever wants to be in charge of the pagan assembly, you could have it. Come do it.
Yes. Well, we are.
We will help you and show you what you need to do.
Well, that is something I have noticed a lot being at festivals, doing workshops, teaching and whatnot, is people think, oh, I can't, or I'll do it wrong, or whatever. It's like, no, it's okay. You can do it. Don't be afraid to take advice from people.
I did 3 workshops, and 2 of them, somebody corrected me on things, and which is better than them letting you make a mistake, right? And then you continue to make the same mistake. But nobody's going to, years and years of doing this, and you can misspeak. You can have bad facts. You can.
That's the great thing about rituals. So many people don't realize if you mess up, nobody knows that you mess up.
And ritual, they just roll on.
I messed up at the main ritual. In essence, I forgot one part of the ritual, but they didn't know you knew.
That's right, I did.
But you know what?
The only people who know are the people whose lines you have stolen. And then you have been left standing there going, okay, what do I say?
Just looking like an idiot up here.
It happens because remember, if you're doing a ritual and whatnot, first off, the goddess understands. But second, if you're doing one in public, nobody knows. The only time I got really had a flub up there once was years ago at AEPG, and we were doing quarters or something in Gaelic, and I know that I completely befuddled my Gaelic lines thinking, nobody has any idea what we're saying except for the guy who was from Cape Breton, who was completely Gaelic, who'd been to Gaelic University. So I could have said, I call to the east, spirit of your toenails. I could have said it. That's the thing in a ritual, you just keep going.
90% of Druid ritual mistakes are the Gaelic parts.
Yeah.
The Gaelic part.
But don't think that just because you're new or just because you don't have years of experience, you can't do something. I was brand new to the pagan community and was on the AEPG executive. It's like, I'll do that. And you learn as you go. So
That's
don't
it.
think you can't.
It's about being authentic. It's about stepping up and doing the work. And people who do the work make mistakes.
So wait, you're saying it's not about wearing black clothing and having your nails done?
I seldom wear black clothes.
I was going to say, Margot and I are, as the girls, with 15 different black skirts. And Dave would say, do you need another black skirt? And I'm like, but it's velvet. But this is a pencil skirt, and the other was an A-line.
And this one's more like
completely
a
different
skirt. Yes, I do have many black skirts because they go with all the tie-dye tops or whatever crazy colors I wear up top. Solid black bottoms are great with all those multicolors.
I just find it easier to in the dark
Only
reach in the
black.
closet, grab something and know it's going to match.
It's all about ease.
Well, look, thank you very much for tuning in. Just try your best to be your authentic self. And if that means long black fingernails and, a crazy Mrs. Roper wig, there's a Mrs. Roper pub crawl going on in April in Halifax. Oh, my God, I can't wait.
I got the cat down.
You have the perfect outfit because I bought it for you.
That's right. I do. I have so many. You know what? And Dora from Bewitched and Mrs. Roper influenced me when I was in single digits. Their style influenced me even when I was a small child anyway. So anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach us on our Facebook page or on Instagram. And if you have any ideas or suggestions, things you'd like us to talk about for shows, certainly let us know. We're always looking for new ideas.
Hello, beloved listeners and patrons of Three Witches and a Druid podcast. We would like to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude for your unwavering support of our podcast. With your encouragement, we have been able to explore and celebrate the rich and diverse world of paganism and spirituality. We feel blessed to have had the opportunity to share our knowledge and experiences with you. As we continue to grow and evolve, we invite you to join us on this journey and become a Patreon member of our podcast. Your contribution will help us to continue creating quality content and provide you with more exciting episodes filled with wisdom, insights, and a little enchantment. By becoming a Patreon member, you will not only support our mission, but you will also have access to exclusive content, behind the scenes goodies, discounts, and much, much more. Together, we can create a thriving and supportive community. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being a part of our Three Witches and a Druid family.
And until next time, everybody, merry meet,
Merry part,
and merry meet again.
blessed be.
This has been Three Witches and a Druid podcast. Thanks for listening.